Hi guys, it's Ian here from Crack Maths, back for tutorial 48. This time we're focusing on how to find the volume of a triangular prism. Okay, just to let you know, before I begin, last tutorial we looked at using volume formulas, and I was using a collection of volume formulas that you didn't need to know. This formula for the volume is one that you are going to need to know, so it's very important that you memorize this. So I'm just going to tell it to you. You might hopefully recognize part of it because of your knowledge of areas of triangles. So the formula for the volume of a triangular prism is base times height divided by 2 and then times length. Now, the reason for this is if I drew out a triangle here, let's say it's going to have a base of 6 and a height of 5. If I wanted to calculate the area of this triangle, I'm going to use the first part of this formula, which is base times height divided by 2. Okay, so let's have a quick look at that. So we've got 6 times 5, which is 30, and then 30 divided by 2 is 15. Okay, so I know that this triangle here has an area of 15 centimeters squared. Now, a prism is a 3D object, and it's a shape that is exactly the same shape all the way through. Okay, people often like to use the example of a stick of rock because if you snap it, it's got the same thing all the way through. A prism is any shape that is exactly the same all the way through. So a triangular prism is like the Toblerone box. A cylinder is a type of prism, and that's just like a cylinder, like a rolling pin. Well, not like a rolling pin because they've got those knobbly bits at the end. Like something round all the way through, like a stick of rock. Yes, so there we go. So that is a prism. The Smarties tube, that little hexagon one, which is the same way all the way through, that is a prism as well. So all of these things are prisms. So the key to a prism is it's the same shape all the way through. I'm going to add the third dimension to this triangle that I've drawn. I'm going to make it go back. I'm going to say that this goes back 4 centimeters. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put in 4 lines here so that we can see. So what we notice when we add the third dimension to our squares is that they go from having an area and being flat to being 3D, so kind of like being cubes. I know they're not all going to be whole cubes, but they are parts of cubes or as such. So I'm going to highlight this front row of my diagram to show us now that these 15 centimeters squared, which made the area, when we go back 1 row, they are now centimeters cubed. So we've gone from having 15 centimeters squared to having 15 centimeters cubed because we've added this third dimension. But we haven't just gone back once, okay? We've gone back 4 times. So every one of these rows includes a new set of 15 centimeter cubed, okay? As I said, they're not all whole cubes, but if I fitted them together, they'd make 15. So I've got 15 on the front row, 15 on the second row, 15 on the third row, and 15 on the fourth row, okay? So, and this is why we have the times length, because basically I've got 4 rows of 15. So I've got 4 lots of 15, so I've got 15 times 4, which tells me that this shape has a volume of 15 times 4, which equals 60, of 60 centimeters cubed. Okay, so that's where this volume comes from. So we find out the area of the face, and then we times it by the depth, because the depth tells us how many rows of that we have. So there we go. So hopefully that would make sense. Hopefully this tutorial is going to make more and more sense as we go through. So let's have a look at question 1. Here we go. We've got question 1 says, find the volume of a triangular prism if the base of the triangle is 5 centimeters, the height is 4 centimeters, and the length is 10 centimeters. Okay, so I'm going to rewrite that formula here at the bottom. Okay, have a think if you can remember it. If not, I'm just going to write it straight down actually. And that is the volume of a triangular prism equals base times height divided by 2 times length. Okay, right, so now we can just replace the numbers. So we're going to have the triangle first. So that is 5 times 4 and then divided by 2. And then I'm going to put times 10 at the end because that's the length. Right, so let's work out the triangle bit first. 5 times 4 is 20. 20 divided by 2 is 10. Okay, and then we have 10 times 10. So 10 times 10 is 100. So the volume of this triangular prism would be 100 centimeters cubed. Okay, let's try another one. Oh, okay, here we go. We've got question 2. And this one says, find the volume of the triangular prism if the base of the triangle is 10 centimeters, the height is 8 centimeters, and the length of the prism is 6 centimeters. Okay, so remember the formula? It's the area of the triangle times length. So base times height divided by 2 times length. So we've got a base of 10, a height of 8, and a length of 6. So we're going to have 10 times 8 divided by 2 times 6. 10 times 8 is 80. 80 divided by 2 is 40. 40 times 6 is 240. So the volume of this triangular prism will be 240 centimeters cubed. Great. Let's have a look at the next one. Ooh, okay. So this one's a little bit different. So this one, well, let's read it first and then we'll notice what's different about it. And yeah, we'll have a think about how to do it together. So here we go. Question 3 says, the volume of the triangular prism is 80 centimeters cubed. If the area of the triangular prism is 10 centimeters squared, what is the length of the prism? Ah, okay. So I'm going to write down our formula, but I'm going to write it down slightly different. I'm going to write it down in a simpler way. I'm just going to say that the volume equals area of triangle times length. Okay, so let's have a think about that. So the volume equals the area of the triangle times length. Now let's put these bits of information in. Right, so we have got the volume, which we know is 80, so I'm going to write down 80, equals the area, which we know is 10, times the length, which we don't know. So here we go, we've got 80 equals 10 times length. Right, now, you might be able to spot the answer already, because you might be thinking to yourself, hang on a second, I know what times 10 equals 80. But if you can't spot it, this is where we use our reverse calculations, okay? So remember, if two numbers multiplied together to give a product, that's the 80 in this case, then the product divided by either two of those numbers gives you the other number, okay? Remember the example of 3 times 4 equals 12. So if we have 3 times 4 equals 12, we also know that 12 divided by 4 is 3, and 12 divided by 3 equals 4. Okay, so with this one, we have got 80 equals 10 times length. So we know that 80 divided by 10 will give us the length. Okay, so 80 divided by 10 equals 8. And there we go, the length of this prism will be 8. And remember, if you're unsure of this, if you've got your divisions correct, you can always check by doing this again. So if we know that the volume equals area of the triangle times length, we can then test that out. So we can do 10 times 8, and 10 times 8 equals 80. So we know that this is correct. Okay, if you need more practice of those questions without there being any scenario, go over to Crack Maths now, and remember this is tutorial 48, and there's lots of questions for you to practice there. If you would like to do some scenario-based questions, stick with us, and we will do that right now. Okay, so here we go. We've got scenario question 1, and this reads, Anna's fish tank is in the shape of a triangular prism and has a volume of 120 litres. If the tank is 1.5 metres tall, what is the area of the triangular base? Oh, Okay, so suddenly we've got a question which requires us to know quite a lot of things. Okay, so they've given us this little hint to say that 1 litre equals 1,000 centimetres cubed. Okay, the fact that they've given us the litres in centimetres cubed makes me think I'm going to just change everything into centimetres because it's going to be easier to do that than it is anything else. So I'm going to change this 120 litres into centimetres cubed. Okay, it's going to be big, but it's going to be fine. So 120 times 1,000 is 120,000. So we know that the volume of this triangular prism is 120,000 centimetres cubed. Okay, so we know that. The tank is 1.5 metres tall. So remember, there is 100 centimetres in a metre. So if I do 1.5 times 100, that's going to give me 150 centimetres. So we know that the volume is 120,000 centimetres cubed, and we know that the height is 150 centimetres. Now remember, volume equals area of the triangle times length, or in this case, times height. So we know that 120,000 equals 150 times the area of the base. Okay, so remember your reverse calculation. If two numbers multiplied together to give one number, then that missing number is equal to the product divided by the other multiplied number. So we know that if 120,000 equals 150 times the area, then 120,000 divided by 150 will give us the area. Okay, so let's try that. 120,000 divided by 150, and that equals 800 centimetres squared. Now remember, it's squared because we found out the area. Okay, so there we go. That is the answer to that. Well done if you followed that. That was a long question. Just because of the mixed up nature of these questions, whether they're like using the formula to find the volume or using the formula to find the area or the length, I am going to do one more just so that you've got lots of material to practice from. Okay, so let's do one more question. Here is question 2, scenario question 2. And this time we've got Sarah is building a swimming pool with a triangular prism shape. Okay, that makes sense. Shallow end, deep end. Okay, I can see what she's talking about. The pool has a volume of 500 cubic meters and she wants it to be 5 meters wide. What is the area of the triangular cross section of the pool? Right, okay. Well, this is a lot easier because cubic meters and they've given us the length in meters. So there's no funny business here. So we remember our formula, which is volume equals area of cross section times length. So we know the width is going to be 5 meters. Okay, so in that case, in this scenario, the width is what we're calling the length. So we know that 500 equals the area of the triangle times 5. Okay, you might spot it, but we'll do it. We're going to write down our working out because that's what we need to do. So 500 equals area of cross section times 5. So remember, when two things multiply together to give a third, that third divided by one of the two things gives us the other thing. So here we go, 500 divided by 5 equals the area of cross section. So we should be able to know this. 500 divided by 5 equals 100 meters squared. So the area of the cross section of this triangular pool is 100 meters squared. Okay, great. Thank you very much for sticking with me through that. If you need any more help, remember there's tutorial 48, crack maths, lots of questions to practice. There's answers at the end, and so you can test your knowledge there. Hope that all is all good, and I will see you in the next tutorial. Okay, bye.